Gauranga-nahita
Hari Bol, everyone. Please accept my pranam. In this video, we will go through the second half of the first chapter of Sri Caitanya-bhāgavata by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. If you haven't gone through the first half, you'll find a link to it in the video description or somewhere up here. Before we begin, I'd like to recap what we read about in the first half. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur begins with his Maṅgalācaraṇa, which is composed of 5 Sanskrit verses. In the first verse, he offers obeisance to Gaura Nitai. In the second verse, he offers pranam to Mahāprabhu along with his associates. In the third verse is another pranam mantra for Gaura Nitai. And in the fourth verse is a beautiful description of Mahāprabhu's beautiful form as he dances in kirtan. The fifth verse is a glorification of Sri Krishna Caitanya-chandra, the abode of transcendental pastimes, as well as of his servants and dancing associates. I'd like to begin each of our weekly recitations with these 5 pranam mantras, so we'll do that after this brief recap that I'm giving. After this Maṅgalācaraṇa, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur begins Sri Caitanya-bhāgavata by making a point of first offering obeisances to the devotees before offering obeisance to the Lord. He gives a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam wherein Sri Krishna says, "Worship of my devotees is superior to worship of me." He then goes on to offer obeisances to Sri Nityananda Balaram, Ananta Shesh, and he describes the glories of Sri Baladev's Ras Leela. He then describes the various forms in which Baladev serves the Lord. He describes how the Lord's devotees worship and glorify Anantadev, and he quotes the 5 verses from Srimad Bhagavatam of Sri Narad's glorification in the assembly of Lord Brahma. He then describes how Anantadev chants the glories of Krishna with each of his thousands of mouths. He says that the pastimes of Sri Caitanya-chandra bring all auspiciousness, but they are revealed only through the mercy of the devotees. He says that he writes only what he has heard from the devotees, and that whatever he describes is only by the direction of Sri Gaurachandra, just as a puppet dances only by the direction of a puppeteer. The last verse we ended with in our previous reading explained how the pastimes of Sri Caitanya are divided into 3 parts. There's the Ādi-khaṇḍa, the Madhya-khaṇḍa, and the Antya-khaṇḍa. Today, in our reading of the second half of this chapter, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur will give a synopsis of all the main pastimes that happened in each of these 3 khandas. And this section is very important for getting a bird's eye view of all of Mahaprabhu's Leelas, so that while we slowly go through all these pastimes, you'll have a good feeling of where you are in the chronology. Throughout these readings, I want to do lots of summarizations and recaps so that by the end of this program, a person can throw at us a chapter number and we'll be able to mention what pastimes happened in it. Also, in the future, when we go through Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita together, we'll be able to easily and nicely compare these 2 books to see in which parts of Mahaprabhu's Leela did Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami fill in the gaps left for him by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. I somewhat lost my voice the other day, and it's starting to come back now, but it might sound a little different in this reading. So now we'll begin with the Maṅgalācaraṇa. Maṅgalācaraṇa. Ajnānatimirandhasya jnānanjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ajanulambita-bhujau kanakavadato Sankirtanai-kapitaro kamalaya-taksho Vishwambharo dvijavaro yugadharmapalo Vande jagat priyakaro karunavataro Namastrikala satyaya Jagannatha sutaya cha Sabhrityaya saputraya sakalatraya te namaha Avatirno sakarunyo parichinno sarishvaro Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanando dvau bhrataro bhaje Sajayati Vishuddha Vikrama Kanakabha Kamalayate Kshana Varajanu Vilambi Sharbhujo Bahuda Bhakti Rasa Bhinartaka Jayati Jayati Deva Krishna Chaitanya Chandro Jayati Jayati Kirtis Tasya Nitya Pavitra Jayati Jayati Bhrityas Tasya Vishveshamurte Jayati Jayati Nrityam Tasya Sarva Priyanam Adya Shri Chaitanya Priya Goshtir Charane Ashesha Prakare Mor Danda Paraname Tabe Vando Shri Krishna Chaitanya Maheshwar Navadvipe Avatar Nama Vishwambhar Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Devi Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshai Kshiptashtakamaditaranga Madhe Kripa Mayi Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Rama Hare Hare. The glories of Sri Caitanya-bhāgavata and Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, Chapter 8, verses 33 to 42. Ore mura loka shuno Chaitanya Mangal Chaitanya Mahima Jate Janibe Sakal Krishna Lila Bhagavate Kohe Veda Vyas Chaitanya Lilar Vyas Vrindavana Das Vrindavana Dasa Koilo Chaitanya Mangal Jahara Shravane Nashe Sarvaya Mangal Chaitanya Nitar Jate Janiye Mahima Jate Jani Krishna Bhakti Siddhanter Sima Bhagavate Joto Bhakti Siddhanter Sar Likhiya Chen Iha Jani Koriya Udhar Chaitanya Mangal Shune Jadi Pashandi Javan Seho Mahavaishnava Hoy Tatakhan Manushe Rachite Nare Aiche Grantha Dhanya Vrindavana Dasa Mukhe Vakta Shri Chaitanya Vrindavana Dasa Pade Koti Namaskar Aiche Grantha Korite Ho Tarila Sangsar Narayani Chaitanyer Uchishta Bhajan Tar Garbhe Janmila Shri Dasa Vrindavan तार की अद्भुत चैतन्य चरिता वर्णन, जहाँ रसवाने शुद्धा कोइल त्रिभुवन, सहज विचित्र मधुर चैतन्य विहार, वृंदावन दास मुखे अमृतेर धार. Sri Caitanya-bhāgavata Ādi-khaṇḍa, Chapter 1, beginning from verse 88. Man diya shuno bhai Shri Caitanya katha, Bhakta sange je lila koila jatha jatha. My dear brother, please hear with attention the topics of Sri Caitanya concerning the various pastimes that he performed with his devotees. Trivida Caitanya Lilayanandera Dham, Ādi-khaṇḍa, Madhya-khaṇḍa, Shesha-khaṇḍa Nam. The pastimes of Sri Caitanya are the abode of all happiness. These pastimes are divided into Ādi-khaṇḍa, Madhya-khaṇḍa, and Antya-khaṇḍa. Ādi-khaṇḍe pradhanata vidyar vilas, Madhya-khaṇḍe chaitanyera kirtana prakash, Shesha-khaṇḍe sannyasi rupe nilachale sthiti, Nityananda sthane samarpiya gorakhiti. The Ādi-khaṇḍa mainly describes the Lord's scholastic pastimes. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, the Lord's kirtan pastimes are described. The Antya-khaṇḍa contains descriptions of the Lord's residence in Jagannath Puri as a sannyasi and his entrusting the Bengal preaching to Nityananda Prabhu. Navadvipe yache Jagannatha Mishravar, Vasudeva praite ho swadharma tatpar. Jagannath Mishra was always enthusiastic in following his religious principles while residing in Navadvip. He was equal to Vasudeva, the father of Lord Krishna. Tana patni shachi nama Mahāpativrata, Dvitiya devaki jeno se jagan mata. His most chaste wife, Shachi Devi, was just like Devaki, the universal mother. Tana garbhe avatirna hoila Narayan, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nam Sangsar Bhushan. From the womb of Mother Shachi appeared Narayan. His name, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, is the ornament of this world. Ādi-khaṇḍe Falguna Purnima Shubhadhine, Avatirna hoila Prabhu Nishai Grahane. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, the Lord's appearance during an eclipse on the night of Falgun Purnima is described. Hari nama Mangala uthilo chatur dige, Janmila Ishvara Sankirtana kori age. Preceding the Lord's birth, the auspicious names of Lord Hari were heard from all directions. Ādi-khaṇḍe Shishu Rupe Aneka Prakash, Pita Mata Prati Dekhaila Guptavas. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, the Lord displays various pastimes as a child. He also reveals his own abode to his parents. Ādi-khaṇḍe Dvaja Vajra Ankusha Pataka, Griha Majhe Apurva Dekhila Pitamata. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, the Lord's parents are astonished to see footprints marked with the signs of a banner, a thunderbolt, an elephant goad, and a flag. Ādi-khaṇḍe Prabhure Hariyachilo Chore, chore bandhaiya Prabhu ailen ghare. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, the Lord is kidnapped by thieves who became bewildered and returned the Lord to his home. Ādi-khaṇḍe jagadisha hiranyera ghare, naivedya khaila Prabhu Shri Hari Vasare. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, the Lord eats grains in the house of Jagadish and Hiranya on the day of Akadashi. Ādi-khaṇḍe shishu chale koriya krandan, bolaila sarva mukhe Shri Hari Kirtan. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, the Lord tricks everyone into chanting the holy names of Hari by crying as a child. Ādi-khaṇḍe lokavarja handir asane, bosiya mayere tattva kohila apane. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, the Lord sits on rejected cooking pots and instructs his mother on the absolute truth. Ādi-khaṇḍe Gauranger chapalya apar, Shishugan Shange Jeno Gokul Vihar. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, Gauranga displays unlimited restlessness and imitates his Gokul pastimes with his friends. Ādi-khaṇḍe koilen aramba porite, alpa adhyapaka hoila sakala shastrete. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, the Lord begins his studies, and in a short time, he becomes a teacher of the scriptures. Ādi-khaṇḍe Jagannatha Mishra Paralok, Vishwarupa Sannyasa Shachir Dui Shok. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, Shachi Devi laments for both the disappearance of Jagannath Mishra and the acceptance of sannyas by Vishwarup. Ādi-khaṇḍe vidya vilaser maharambha, pashandi dekhaye jeno murti mantadambha. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, at the beginning of the Lord's educational pastimes, he appears to the atheists as the personification of pride. Ādi-khaṇḍe shakala paduva ganameli, janavir tarange nirbhaya jalakeli. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, the Lord, along with other students, sports fearlessly in the waters of the Ganges. Ādi-khaṇḍe Gauranger sarva shastre jai, tribhuvane heno nahi je sanmukha hoy. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, Lord Gauranga masters all the scriptures. No one in the three worlds can compete with him. Ādi-khaṇḍe Bangladeshe Prabhur Gaman, Prachya Bhumi Tirtha Hoilo Pai Shri Charan. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, the Lord travels to East Bengal, which is modern-day Bangladesh, which becomes a holy place by the touch of his lotus feet. Ādi-khaṇḍe Parva Parigraher Vijay, Sheshe Raja Panditer Kanya Parinay. The Ādi-khaṇḍa describes the disappearance of Lakshmi Priya and the Lord's second marriage with the daughter of the Raja Pandit. The Raja Pandit means the king's priest, who is Sanatan Mishra. Ādi-khaṇḍe Vayudeha Madhya-kori chal, Prakashila Prema Bhakti Vikar Sakal. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, the Lord displays ecstatic devotional sentiments on the pretension of an imbalance of bodily airs. Ādi-khaṇḍe Shakala Bhaktere Shakti Diya, Apane Brahmen Mahapandita Hoya. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, the Lord empowers the devotees and wanders about as a great scholar. Ādi-khaṇḍe divya paridhana divya sukh Anande bhasen shachi deki chandramukh. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, Mother Shachi floats in an ocean of happiness on seeing the moon-like face of the Lord, who dresses enchantingly and enjoys transcendental pleasure. Ādi-khaṇḍe Gauranger digvijayi jai Sheshe korilen tar sarva bandhakoy. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, Lord Gauranga defeats the Digvijayi scholar and ultimately delivers him from all bondage. Ādi-khaṇḍe shakala bhaktere mohadiya Shekhane bule prabhu sabare bandhiya. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, the Lord bewilders the devotees and lives amongst them as an ordinary person. Ādi-khaṇḍe gaya gela vishvambhara rai Ishvar puri re kripa korila jathai. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, Lord Vishvambar goes to Gaya and bestows mercy on Sri Ishvar Puri. Ādi-khaṇḍe ache koto ananta vilas Kichu sheshe varni ben mahamuni vyas. In the Ādi-khaṇḍa, there are innumerable pastimes that will be described in the future by the great sage Vyasadeva. Balya lila adi kori jate ka prakash Gayar avadi Ādi-khaṇḍer vilas. The Ādi-khaṇḍa begins with the Lord's childhood pastimes and continues through his visit to Gaya. Madhya-khaṇḍe vidita hoila Gaura singha Chinilen jato sab charaner bhringa. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, the lion-like Lord Gauranga reveals himself so that the devotees, who are like bees at his lotus feet, are able to recognize him. Madhya-khaṇḍe advaitadi shiva ser ghare Vyakta hoila bosi vishnur kathar upare. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, the Supreme Lord reveals his identity at the houses of Srivas Pandit and Advaita Prabhu while sitting on Vishnu's altar. Madhya-khaṇḍe nityananda shange darashan Ekathai dui bhai korila kirtan. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, the Lord meets Nityananda Prabhu and the two brothers perform kirtan together. Madhya-khaṇḍe sharbhuja dekhila Nityananda Madhya-khaṇḍe advaita dekhila vishvaranga. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, Nityananda Prabhu sees the Lord's six-armed form, Sharbhuj, and Advaita Prabhu sees the Lord's universal form. Nityananda vyasa puja kohi Madhya-khaṇḍe Je Prabhure ninda kore papishta pashande. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, there is a description of the Vyasa Puja performed by Lord Nityananda, who is criticized by sinners and atheists. O Madhya-khaṇḍe haladhar hoila Gaura Chandra Haste hala mushala dila Nityananda. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, Lord Gaurachandra accepts the mood of Balaram, and Nityananda Prabhu gives him a plough and club. Madhya-khaṇḍe dui ati pataki mochan Jagai madhai nam vikhyata bhuvan. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, there is a description of the deliverance of the two most sinful persons, known throughout the world as Jagai and Madhai. Madhya-khaṇḍe Krishna Rama Caitanya Nitai Shama Shukla Rupa dekhilen Shachi I. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, Mother Shachi sees Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda in their blackish and whitish forms as Krishna and Balaram. Madhya-khaṇḍe Chaitanyar Mahaparakash Sahat Prahariya Bhav Aishvarya Vilas. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, the Lord displays his Mahaprakash, his divine opulences, for 21 hours. That's for 7 prahars. Sat Prahariya Bhav. Shedin amayai kohilen katha Je je seva ker janma hoila jatha jatha. On that day, the Lord spontaneously revealed the past identities of his servants. Madhya-khaṇḍe nache vaikunter narayan Nagare nagare koilo apane kirtan. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, Narayana, the Lord of Vaikuntha, dances and personally performs kirtan throughout the streets of Navadvip. Madhya-khaṇḍe kajir bhangila ahankar Nija Shakti Prakashiya Kirtan Apar. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, the Lord breaks the Qazi's pride while manifesting his potency in a tremendous kirtan. Bhakti Pailo Kaji Prabhu Gauranger Vare Swachande Kirtana Kore Nagare Nagare. By the benediction of Lord Gauranga, the Qazi attains devotional service. Thus, all the devotees are allowed to freely perform kirtan in the streets of Navadvip. Madhya-khaṇḍe Mahāprabhu Varaha Hoya Nija Tattva Murarire Kohila Garjiya. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, the Lord accepts the form of Varaha and discloses his identity to Murari Gupta. Madhya-khaṇḍe Murarir Skande Arohan Chatur Bhuja Hoya Koila Angane Brahman. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, the Lord accepts a 4-armed form and rides on Murari's shoulders throughout his courtyard. Madhya-khaṇḍe Shuklamvar Tandula Bhojan Madhya-khaṇḍe Nana Chanda Hoila Narayan. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, the Lord eats Shuklambar Brahmachari's rice and performs various pastimes as Narayan. Madhya-khaṇḍe Rukmanir Veshe Narayan Nachilen Stanapilo Sarva Bhaktagan. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, Gaur Narayan dances in the dress of Rukmini and breastfeeds all the devotees. Madhya-khaṇḍe Mukunder Danda Shanga Doshe Sheshe Anugraha Koila Parama Santoshe. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, the Lord punishes Mukunda for associating with Gyanis and later blesses him with great satisfaction. Madhya-khaṇḍe Mahāprabhur Nishai Kirtan Vatsarek Navadipe Koila Anukhan. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, there are descriptions of all the night kirtans that the Lord performs for 1 year in Navadvip. Madhya-khaṇḍe Nityananda Advaita Kautuka Agya Jane Bhuje Jeno Kalaha Swarupa. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, Nityananda and Advaita exchange jokes, which ignorant people consider as quarreling. Madhya-khaṇḍe Jananir Lakshe Bhagavan Vaishnava Parada Koraila Savadhan. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, the Lord warns everyone about offending Vaishnavas, using his mother as an example. Madhya-khaṇḍe sakala Vaishnava jane jane, sabe vara pailen koriyastavane. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, all the Vaishnavas receive benedictions after offering prayers. Madhya-khaṇḍe prasada paila Haridas, Shridharer jalpan karunya vilas. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, Haridas Thakur receives the Lord's mercy, and the Lord mercifully drinks Sridhar's water. Madhya-khaṇḍe sakala Vaishnava kori sange, Pratidin janavite jala keli range. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, the Lord daily sports in the waters of the Ganges with the devotees. Madhya-khaṇḍe Gaura Chandra Nityananda Shange, Advaiter grihe giya chila konarange. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, Lord Gaurachandra and Nityananda Prabhu go on a mission to Advaita Prabhu's house. Madhya-khaṇḍe Advaiter kori bahu danda, Sheshe anugraha koila parama prachanda. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, the Lord punishes Advaita Prabhu and then bestows great mercy on him. Madhya-khaṇḍe Caitanya Nitai Krishna Ram, Janila Murari Gupta Mahabhagyavan. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, the most fortunate Murari Gupta is able to recognize Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu to be Krishna and Balaram. Madhya-khaṇḍe Dui Prabhu Chaitanya Nitai, Nachilen Shivasa Yangane Ekathai. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, the two lords, Chaitanya and Nityananda, dance together in the house of Srivas Thakur. Madhya-khaṇḍe Shivaser Mrita Putra Mukhe, Jiva Tattva Kohaiya Guchaila Dukhe. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, the Lord induces Srivasa's dead son to speak on the science of the soul, thus destroying everyone's sorrow. Chaitanyar anugrahe Srivasa Pandita, Pasarila Putra Shoke Jagate Vidita. By the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, Srivas Thakur gave up lamentation over his son's death. This incident became known to all. Madhya-khaṇḍe Gangai Porila Dukha Paya, Nityananda Haridasa Anilo Tuliya. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, the Lord, in distress, jumped into the Ganges, and Nityananda and Haridas pulled him out. Madhya-khaṇḍe Chaitanyar Avashesha Patra, Brahmar Durlabha Narayani Paila Matra. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, Narayani received Lord Chaitanya's remnants, which are rarely attained by even Lord Brahma. Madhya-khaṇḍe Sarva Jiva Udhara Karunye, Sanyasa Korite Prabhu Korila Gamane. In the Madhya-khaṇḍa, the Lord leaves home and accepts sannyas in order to deliver the living entities. Kirtana Koriya Adi Avadi Sannyas, Ei hoite kohi Madhya-khaṇḍer vilas. The pastimes of the Madhya-khaṇḍa begin with the Lord's kirtan and end with his acceptance of sannyas. Madhya-khaṇḍe ache ar koto koti lila, Veda Vyasa Varni Ben Sheshakala Khela. There are millions of other pastimes in the Madhya-khaṇḍa that will be described in the future by Srila Vyasadeva. Shesha-khaṇḍe Vishwambhar Korila Sanyas, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nam Tabe Parakash. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, after Vishvambar takes sannyas, he becomes known as Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Shesha khande shuni prabhur shikhar mundan, vistar korila prabhu advaita krandhan. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, Advaita Prabhu cries profusely upon hearing that the Lord has shaved his shikha and hair. Shesha khande shachi dukha akhatya kathan, Caitanya prabhabe sabar rahilo jivan. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, Shachi Devi's lamentation is indescribable, and the devotees remained alive only by the influence of Sri Chaitanya. Shesha khande nityananda Chaitanya danda, bhangilen balaram parama prachanda. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, the most powerful Sri Nityananda Ram breaks Lord Chaitanya's sannyas danda. Shesha khande Gaura Chandra giya nila chale, apanare lukai rohila kutuhale. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, Lord Gaurachandra arrives in Nilachal and hides himself. Sarvabhauma pratiyage kori parihas, sheshe sarvabhaumere sharbhuja parakash. At first, the Lord teases Sarvabhauma, but later he displays his six-armed form to him. Shesha khande pratapa rudrere paritran, Kashi Mishra grihete korila adhishtan. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, the Lord delivers Maharaj Prataparudra and resides in the house of Kashi Mishra. Damodara Swarupa Paramananda Puri, Shesha khande edui shange adhikari. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, the two great authorities, Swarup Damodar and Paramananda Puri, reside with the Lord. Shesha khande Prabhu Puna Aila Gaura Deshe, Mathura dekhibo boli Ananda Visheshe. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, the Lord returns to Bengal while traveling in ecstasy to see Mathura. Asiyara hila vidya vachaspati ghare, Tabe to aila Prabhu kuliya nagare. On the way, the Lord happily stays at the house of Vidya Vachaspati before going on to Kuliya. Ananta arbuda loka gela dekhi bare, Shesha khande sarva jiva paila nistare. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, innumerable people go to see the Lord and are thus delivered. Shesha khande madhupuri dekhite chalila, Kato durgiya prabhu nibrita hoila. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, the Lord goes to see Mathura, but he returns after going part way. Shesha khande puna ae lena nilachale, Niravadi bhakta shange Krishna kola hole. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, the Lord returns to Nilachal and engages in discussing topics of Krishna with the devotees. Gaura deshe nityananda swarupe pathaya, Rohile nilachale katho janaloya. The Lord sends Nityananda Swarup to Bengal and stays himself in Nilachal with a few devotees. Shesha khande rater sammukhe bhakta shange, Apane korila nritya apanar range. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, the Lord enjoys his pastime of dancing with the devotees before Lord Jagannath's chariot. Shesha khande setu bandhe gela Gaura rai, Ādi-khaṇḍa diya puna gela Mathurai. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, Lord Gauranga goes to Rameshwar and later travels again to Mathura through the Ādi-khaṇḍa forest. Shesha-khaṇḍe Ramananda Rayer udhar, Shesha-khaṇḍe Mathurai anek vihar. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, the Lord delivers Ramananda Rai and performs various pastimes in Mathura. Shesha-khaṇḍe Shri Gaura Sundar Mahashai, Dabir Khasere Prabhu Dila Parichai. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, Lord Gaurasundar reveals himself to Dabir Khas. Prabhu chini dui bhair banda vimochan, Sheshe naam thuilen rupa sanatan. The two brothers achieve liberation by recognizing the Lord, and they become known as Rupa and Sanatan. Shesha-khaṇḍe Gaura Chandra gela Varanasi, Na pailo dekha jata nindaka sannyasi. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, the Lord goes to Varanasi, where the blasphemous sannyasis cannot recognize him. Shesha-khaṇḍe puna nila chale agaman, Aharnisha korilen hari sankirtan. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, the Lord again returns to Nilachal and engages day and night in Sankirtan. Shesha-khaṇḍe Nityananda Kateka Divas, Korilen Prithivite Parjatan Ras. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, Lord Nityananda travels throughout India as a wandering mendicant, as a parivrajak. Ananta charitra keho bujhite na pare, Charane nupur sarva mathura vihare. No one can understand Lord Nityananda's unlimited characteristics as he wanders about Mathura with ankle bells on his feet. Shesha-khaṇḍe Nityananda pani hati grame, Caitanya-bhāgavata korilen adane. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, Lord Nityananda distributes devotional service to everyone in Panihati on the order of Lord Chaitanya. Shesha-khaṇḍe Nityananda Mahamalārai, Vanikadi udharila parama kripai. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, the commander-in-chief of the Kirtan party, Lord Nityananda, delivers the merchant community. Shesha-khaṇḍe Gaura Chandra Mahamaheshwar, Nilachale Vasa Ashtadasha Samvatsar. In the Antya-khaṇḍa, the Supreme Lord Sri Gaurachandra resides in Nilachal for 18 years. Shesha-khaṇḍe Caitanya Ananta Vilas, Vistariya Varnite Achen Vedavyas. The unlimited pastimes of Sri Chaitanya in the Antya-khaṇḍa will be described by Vyasadeva in the future. Jete mate Chaitanya gaite mahima, Nityananda priti bodo tar nahi sima. If one, somehow or other, glorifies Lord Chaitanya, then Lord Nityananda becomes unlimitedly pleased with that person. Dharani Darendra Nityanandir Charan, Deho Prabhu Gaura Chandra Amare Sevan. O Lord Gaurachandra, please allow me to serve the feet of Nityananda Prabhu, who, as Ananta Shesh, holds all the universes on his heads. Eito kahilo sutra sankhepa koriya, tin khande arambhir ihai gaya. In these sutras, I have thus briefly described the contents of this book. Now I will begin to narrate these three divisions of pastimes. Ādi-khaṇḍa katha bhai shuno ekachite Shri Chaitanya avatirna hoilo jeno mate. My dear brothers, please now hear attentively the topics of Ādi-khaṇḍa regarding the appearance of Lord Chaitanya. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Chanda Jan Vrindavana Dasa Tochu Pada Juge Gan. Accepting Shri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Nitai Gaur Pimanande Hari Hari Bol. So that last verse ended with a hint of what we'll read in the next chapter. It said, Shri Chaitanya avatirna, the descent of Shri Chaitanya. So I look forward to reading that with you all next Sunday. I'll see you there. Shri Sachinandan Gaura Hari Ki Jai, Shri Caitanya-bhāgavata Ki Jai, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai, Swaparshad Shri Gaura Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Srila Param Gurudev Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Rupa Nugagoriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai, Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyaye Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. See you there.
Ha ha mara